podcast, we dug a little bit further into ChatGPT, and yeah, it's shit. So the but it's on open beta right now.
Well, it's shit for
so
now.
it's shit for now. So educators, relax. It's not quite time. Just start kind of gearing up for this because once that program grabs a good footing, yeah. Cheers, sir. Once that program grabs some traction and gets going, it could potentially be a force, for good or for bad, depending on who controls that daggone AI and who manages its output. But I mean, my brother James here, he's asked it a couple questions, legit historical questions, and
So
you can go into that because
I've done historical research for school and projects and research and papers and stuff like that. So there's been things that historical matters that I've researched extensively that I put it into ChatGPT and asked it, and it came back with the wrong answers, like dead wrong. So, for example, I asked it, you can research this yourself on your own. The Africa Squadron, the United States Africa Squadron, which was a squadron of naval ships back in the day that was sent to the Horn of Africa to prevent the transatlantic slave trade, the treaty that they had with the British government. Anyway, so they sent these ships out there, and the first commander of the Africa Squadron was Commodore Matthew Perry, who was a famous U.S. naval commander. I put that into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT actually tried to have an argument with me about who was the first commander of the Africa Squadron. And it wasn't Matthew Perry, it was this other guy. And it's like, no, it's a fact that Matthew Perry was the first commander of the Africa Squadron. Then putting it, going a little bit more modern, see if it had access to information that was a bit more recent and a bit more well documented, especially online through like news media and stuff like that. That's personal history, like some of the engagements that I was in that made the news. Operation Phantom Fury. I was there, the 2nd Infantry Division. We were part of a distraction force that hit the city from the west side on the Euphrates River. We were in between the Fallujah General Hospital and an old Iraqi National Guard. Well, now it's old. Current, right. It was an active National Guard, Iraqi National Guard building. The National Guard building was destroyed before we hit the city proper. It was destroyed by a couple of Navy bombs and some Hellfire missiles from a Cobra. And then we went in. Turned out we had busted a water main. That's how I remember all this stuff. We busted a water main. One of the lieutenant's tank went in there, and apparently it wasn't just water in that mix. It was whoever was in that building.
It was
so
liquid dookie.
Liquid people.
Yeah, oh man.
Yeah, because we had to pull an arm out of a buddy's track.
Oh no.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's never pleasant.
So, but I mean, that was personal history that I was personally a part of.
Yeah.
And it's like I just asked it a general question: what was the 2nd Infantry's involvement in Operation Phantom Fury? The 2nd Infantry Division was not involved in Operation Phantom Fury. Most certainly were.
No, you weren't. ChatGPT said you weren't there, so
at least for historical research,
stolen valor.
A lot of what I used when I was doing historical research was search engines. Google, Google it. You get your sources. You can use Wikipedia for source generation, but you can't use Wikipedia as a source itself. But that's how you find sources. Now, ChatGPT is supposed to be taking over as a search engine, so or at least the next step of search engines to actually give you the information instead of just telling you where to get the information. Right. And using it like that, I have found flaws. So, and that's just a couple of examples for historical research that it was completely wrong. Right. And I know for a fact it was wrong because I've done the research. And this is where we're at right now with ChatGPT. Now, as far as a productivity tool, I think it's probably good. Probably pretty good. A lot of people are getting good results out of it, especially for like coding and writing things quickly just by prompt. So
yeah, I mean we've gotten some pretty good comprehensive answers on things, but I haven't asked anything that specific, of it. But it says right there on the website, just to kind of give us feedback, and this and that and the third. So I guess that's something for them to kind of tighten up the target, on that one.
Yeah, and as
just
time
tighten up
progresses,
that.
the technology will improve, just like every other bit of technology. So
Yeah. So I mean,
it'll get there eventually.
yeah, of course. Recently, this week we dealt with the mass shooting at Michigan State University.
Mm-hmm.
So, the MSU shooting and the crazy coverage that it got, like the askewed coverage that it got, and I mean, for us here at the ID's podcast, I mean, we feel nothing but sadness for anybody that loses their life, that wouldn't otherwise deserve anything of the such. It's just college students, regardless of their ilk or, where they come from or whatever. It's irrelevant. If you're doing something positive for your life, try to be a productive human being. It can only help things. So to have your life cut short in a massive shooting, in a mass shooting, or something, or an act of violence from anybody, it's always unfortunate. But the media coverage is it's immediately shifting gears into gun control, which is something that, yes, it could be part of the conversation, but I think in the immediate aftermath, when the president gets up on a pulpit and just starts talking about gun control, as opposed to, let's just talk about this event and this heinous person that did this, because the fact still remains the same. Guns don't shoot themselves, not natural, not normally, unless you have something that malfunctioned drastically. It's not firearms don't normally open fire on their own. There's usually a person attached to that. This shooter that was part of this, of course, was not the correct race for the agenda, so he didn't get his due coverage right away. Took a little bit for them to kind of come out and, here is what the shooter looked like, and they had some CCTV camera footage and whatever, and you can clearly identify that person's race. Also, as I have it understood, I don't know, you can maybe do some further research there to kind of straighten me out, but I don't think he was carrying a AR-15 or anything like that, not a long rifle. Apparently he was using handguns. Again, gun control laws affect the law-abiding. Criminals do not obey them. That's why they're criminals. So to bunch the entire population for the actions of a few is just asinine. It's unfortunate that I think these events should get some kind of coverage. I think it brings a lot of just the way they're brought up creates a little bit of unwanted attention towards the topic, like in the wrong echo chamber. Just kind of
two 9mm handguns.
Yeah, two 9mm handguns. There we go, the dual wielder, but or whatever, unless he changed guns for instead of reloading. But he moved from building to building pretty with some intent, and he has some history with prior arrest and unlawful carries of firearms, and he'd been released. He bonded out a couple times. I don't know exactly what his history was, but he had been arrested for weapons related offenses already. And by all rights, I think that if you can't responsibly carry a weapon and coexist with the general populace, you should not have one. But it shouldn't be a point for red flags, but it should be. There's definitely an argument for it for certain occasions. But we kind of bring back into the infringement of people's rights, and
Right.
you can't. We've seen this. The thing is that we've seen this in third world countries and how it works. Not specifically with red flag laws as a thing, but in Iraq, for instance, we relied on a lot of intel generated from the general populace. So once we began SASO operations, and for us, the security assistance and stability operations, where we were helping people with their infrastructure, making sure how much trying to make sure that the light stayed on for most of the day and that the water and the sewage was running, and they had petrol and benzene and natural gas for their stoves. We handled the gas distribution centers and all that stuff. So once we broke down to that phase of the operations in Iraq back in '03 and '04, we relied a lot on intel from the population about bad doers, evil doers, people that were trying to disrupt those kind of operations because they were being affected by it. But inevitably, what ended up happening was that the local populace started settling beefs. Yeah. And they started settling beefs with using us, the U.S. military, as their muscle. And we had very little choice but to act on some of these. And it just created an environment where we were terrorizing some people because they have and it would come out in questioning because these people were not, since they were not combatants, they weren't necessarily situations where we would receive fire coming through the door. But we would take the door, we kick the door down, battering ram, bow, and it's a raid. It's a cordon and search. We go in there, guns up, nods, the whole work. Very scary for people that are not expecting it, and especially very scary for people that are not combatants. So we would take the males out of the house, and we'd take them back, and S2 would get to the bottom of it, and it would turn out to be bunk. Whoever turned them in had beef from before the war or whatever, has some issues with them, and whether it be religious or personal or neighborly disputes, and they just dropped a dime, and we took the door. So now that required a shift in our operational assessments and how we classified our intel and how we actually made intel, categorized it as actionable. So
that's the thing. We go into a Middle Eastern country, we really don't understand the politics that goes on there because it's not a political system like we know. Correct. It's not a two-party system or something like that. There's a lot of tribal. Yeah,
there's a lot of tribal stuff. So, and the thing is that you got the Sunnis and the Shias living in like across the street from each other, and
they've been at war with each other for what, couple?
Well, yeah, I mean they've been one faction was oppressed by the ruler of the from the other faction, so and so on and so forth. So they settled a lot of beefs that way using us as muscle. So red flag laws lend themselves to that kind of behavior because instead of they would be generated by what we would consider here in Texas by the law reputable sources. Basically, you get a reputable source, which is basically an upstanding citizen giving an outcry, and now that could trigger an investigative process into this individual that may or may not need that kind of scrutiny because they have a right to privacy and their next door neighbor has a concern. So now it becomes a thing where a lot of police departments and a lot of law enforcement agencies lack the amount of resources to truly investigate these with the vigor that it would require to make a red flag law work properly. Not only that, but it opens the door for corruption because now, if you're in a jurisdiction where you're the people that are in government, and it can be used it can be weaponized against citizens in a way. Like if you and I very easily, like if you and I are running for office and we got beef back from, like I want to be city councilman and you want to be city councilman, and we've had beef going back to our varsity football days, and that I hunt a lot. And and the next thing you know, you're like, hey, that guy.
It's not a new thing that's been brought up.
It's not.
Remember back in the old days, like back in the old days when Hollywood actually didn't like the government. Instead, now they're the propaganda arm of the government.
Yeah. Operation Mockingbird, I'm tracking.
Joseph Goebbels is like in
his
grave. Yeah. So, I mean, they're doing everything that Goebbels prescribed, and it's being very, very successful. But back in the day, movie Red Dawn, that was brought up in Red Dawn, where you had registrations of people who had firearms. And so an invading military comes in, gets these registration papers, and now arrests everybody on that list because they know they're armed.
Yeah. I mean,
it can be turned against the American population or any population. It could be if you have lists like that of gun ownership, or you have a government authority that has a lawful use of force, to use that force against people who you need the very, very basic of claims to use that force against somebody to get their firearms or get them into a holding facility where they're just out of the way for a while. Yeah, it's nightmarish. It's the definition of tyranny.
Right. Yeah, it happens in so many other aspects of our everyday life as an American citizen. Even I've dealt with false accusations that I've had to fight through in order to move on with my life. So imagine somebody saying something false about you involving your firearms. Do you go on a registry? What's the story here? Are you gonna have to are you gonna have your privacy now invaded by local governments or federal government because somebody said something about you? This has happened before. This has happened before. So maybe not as maybe a different name, but it has happened before. So I can't possibly, in good conscience, not even in the least bit, support any kind of red flag laws. But there is a process in place here in the state of Texas, and we've dealt with it with the mental health side, where a person becomes deemed unstable mentally by the state. A mental health warrant is issued. I've executed those. Pick them up. Goes to a mental facility. We do the best that we can to give this person the level of care appropriate for him. But then his firearms, we don't take them as an agency. We could seize them, but we find a suitable host for those guns within that family structure where they can be for safekeeping held over there while this person gets the appropriate care. I don't know how it's worked for mental warrants because I haven't followed through with some of those cases that are specific to what I just said, but I know in other cases where we've taken people for emergency detention orders and stuff like that because they're having a mental breakdown and whatnot, and they have weapons in the house. I know they've been able to go back to a functioning life because now they have the mental health officers that are also doing follow-ups on them. They also have the state doing follow-ups on them. They have appointments. They have there's a structure set in place. There's just so much we can do as a government and as local and state government to not infringe on your rights and yet provide the care that we can. And we've had it happen where a guy gets a emergency detention order, goes to a facility for a few weeks. They treat him. He does whatever he did over there, satisfies the needs of the facility, gets released, goes home, and kills his entire family. Yeah. And that's happened in our jurisdiction. So it's sometimes you just can't avoid somebody going for the extreme level of violence that they're set themselves up to execute. Once somebody got that in their head, they're more than likely going to go through with it, and there's very little you can do about it aside from taking away their freedom completely and putting them under watch. So at that point, we'll go right back. So now red flag laws wouldn't be for...
If you even try to do that, now you're crossing into the territory of future crimes?
Right. I mean, we're not Minority Report here. You know what I mean? It's how I sit there and go like, oh yeah, that, and talk to the precogs, and then that guy over there, he's gonna get it. Right. So it's just that's not the realm that we operate in. So the thing is that the weapon laws are what they are. Look, in the state of Texas, if you live in the state of Texas, you're watching this. Constitutional carry is a thing. Mm-hmm. There are still laws though within the constitutional carry that you could land in jail for a gun charge, regardless. The unlawful carry of a firearm is still a thing.
Still a felony.
It's still a felony. You still got to abide by certain standards in order for you to not break the law when it comes to carrying a firearm. So, you can open carry. I mean, it's It's what it is. But I implore that anybody that watches this, go get yourself go research it and go find a range. A lot of the ranges have local guys within that installation, that facility that provide classes, and a whole bunch of them do. And there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of resources out there where they're not very expensive. If you can afford a couple $100 and almost $1,000 for firearms, which is what they cost nowadays, some of the really good ones, you can probably set aside a little bit of money for some training, and get yourself educated on the subject, because
because the carry course has like some of the most extensive training for what the laws are around carrying a firearm that you can buy, and it's only like $50 to $75.
You go to a gun store.
So even though you don't need the license to carry, it'd be good for an educational source.
Gun stores have a plethora of plethora of resources when it comes to this kind of thing, this kind of topic. So you go to a gun store and you're like, oh, I like that gun. I want to buy it for home defense. I said, do you guys know anybody to put together any classes? Oh, yeah. They probably got thousands of business cards all over their corkboard. Oh, yeah. They can pull somebody else like, oh, this guy's good.
A couple guys that work there do it.
Yeah, a couple guys that work there may do it. And not only that, but they'll know who's full of shit and who's not. They'll be like, oh, yeah, don't go to that guy. That guy's garbage. But here's this guy. This guy taught my wife and my daughter, off you go. Get yourself a little class, man, and learn how to properly carry and employ your firearm, so you don't fall victim to this kind of stuff. I mean, you can, I'm not saying be paranoid, but a little bit of paranoia it's not unhealthy. But moving on from that, we had that horrible shooting. We got, more objects shot out of the sky.
Yeah.
So my condolences out to those hobbyists that lost those helium balloons. Sorry, look.
What was the other thing that came out?
Hats off to your balloon that flew too close to the Hellfire or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, like it flew too. AIM-9 Sidewinder.
Flew too close to that Sidewinder. Yeah, it's a
hell of a missile.
They've been squashing ants with an anvil over there. So if you're out there with your hobby balloon, man, and you lost it to an F-22 Raptor.
That's the thing I was reading that came out after that Chinese balloon was allowed to sail over the United States completely. They turned their radar on to, like, I guess, ultra fine tune.
Yeah, like super narrow.
I don't know anything about radar, so I have no idea how it works. I know very little about it. But they turned their sensitivity up, like, all the way to, like, catch anything that's up there, and they caught, like, thousands of objects. Yeah. It's like, most of them are like shopping bags.
Yeah.
They're just floating through the air. That's what they're detecting. Yeah. So they don't have it that finely tuned because they'll catch thousands and thousands of objects. They're sending things up, or they're sending interceptors up to catch these things. Some of the things were scrambled because they were at the altitude where it could be a danger to civilian airways. But apparently most of these things are just hobby balloons, just scientific research balloons that the FAA wasn't tracking and NORAD wasn't tracking. And they just saw it all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, go shoot it.
So you'll hear NORAD a lot this week. A lot of people don't know exactly what it is. So NORAD is not just a building.
A bunker in a mountain in Cheyenne Mountain.
Not a bunker, not just a bunker in Cheyenne Mountain. The acronym stands for a pact that we have with.
It's the North American Aerospace Defense Command.
So that pact. That's why why the hell are F-22 Raptors knocking stuff off? Over the Yukon, whatever, in Canada, whatever. I was like, well, this is why. So we do have a pact with Canada. Now, don't get me wrong, we're not just the U.S. is not just willy-nilly launching aircraft over Canadian airspace just because.
Have people said that like we're invading Canadian airspace?
Oh, yeah, of course.
We invade each other's airspace all the time.
Of course, it's probably racist too, because or whatever.
We're both part of NATO.
Yeah. We have
Seaways.
Seaways.
We've had Canadians down here I've worked with Canadians.
Yes. Yes, I've been on mission with Canadians.
No, we have treaties with these people.
Yeah, we used to wear their uniforms.
Oh, really?
There's a story about that, but let's just say some Canadians got blamed for some stuff.
Nice. We should do it to the Germans more often.
We did that to them too. They sold their uniforms at the PX, bro.
Yeah.
So, hey, whatever. A story for another day. But
They wear a German uniform.
yeah, it's not a war crime the first time, right? So
You're going to have to give credit where credit's due.
yeah, hey, dude, they can keep that credit.
No.
So-
That, what you just said ain't a war crime the first time. It's Quack Bang.
Oh yeah, Quack Bang. Yeah, that's right. That dude is awesome. So if you get a chance to check out freaking Quack Bang, that guy's the fat
The fat
electrician.
electrician, yep.
That guy's got some awesome videos, man. If you want to get, to be perfectly honest, if you want to get some education
On military
on
history.
military history, military equipment,
Awesome.
and laugh your ass off,
Yeah.
that dude, fantastic work, man. So give him a watch, man. Shout out to him. But the amount of freaking asinine crap that's coming out, and now the conspiracy because of the things that got knocked out of the sky, and then the derailment of this train in Palestine, Ohio. People are kind of like marrying the two, like.
How?
Because one's a diversion and the other one is misinformation and it look not everything is a fucking conspiracy.
That shit happens. Yeah.
Shit happens, man. So
I was just reading an article about the derailment. Apparently, Buttigieg, who's
yeah, he's diversity hire. He's strictly there because of who
one of the
he
reps
is.
of Ohio. Anyway, he came.
Useless.
He's useless.
Non-contributing zero,
But he's trying to deflect,
of course.
saying, Ohio's getting a bunch of attention on this when there's 1,000 derailments in the United States every year. Yeah, but not 1,000 derailments that result in a major ecological disaster where the news footage of it, at least the photographs of it, look like a nuclear explosion in the middle of Ohio.
Yeah,
It's
so
ridiculous.
so
They did a controlled burn on the chemicals. So, from what I understand, it was a
yes,
controlled burn.
it was a controlled burn,
and,
which was claimed to be a resounding success.
but
It ignited a freaking chemical weapon that hasn't been used since like World War One. Stuff like that. It's
what were they transporting? Do we know?
there was a number of chemicals, but I know a scientist did.
Wait, I have a list.
You have a list. Perfect. Let's go with the list.
On February 23rd, 2020, what is this? This is just Wikipedia. A freight train carrying vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate, ethahexyl acrylate, and ethylene glycol.
So all chemicals.
Monobutyl.
Yeah, those
ether.
chemicals.
I'm not done with that.
Yeah. Oh God.
Monobutyl ether derailed. Okay, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Derailed along the Norfolk Southern Railway in East. I don't know if it's Palestine or Palestine. Texas,
Yeah.
Texas pronounces it Palestine.
No,
It's spelled Palestine.
Just pronounce it however you want to. It don't matter.
East Palestine.
East
Ohio.
Palestine, Ohio.
Yeah.
It's near the border of Pennsylvania.
There's a Palestine, Texas. It's spelled
There
the
is.
same way. Yeah.
There is. I haven't seen a Palestinian there yet.
But it's spelled Palestine.
Yeah, right. Yeah. In Bexar County is.
Bear County.
Yeah. But
You know how many Bear County deputies have corrected me on that? Oh, Bexar. I've been saying Bexar my whole life.
yeah,
It's Bear County.
I say it now just to annoy him.
Right.
But the thing is that the control burn, those chemicals are apparently commonly associated with the production of PVC.
Oh, here's the rest of the thing. Again, from Wikipedia. Emergency crews connected a controlled burn of the spill at the request of state officials, which released hydrogen chloride and phosgene into the air. As a result, residents within 1 mile radius were evacuated. An emergency response from agencies across 3 states was initiated. The EPA published a list provided by Norfolk Southern, which documented the cargo of each car type. Okay. Vinyl chloride present in multiple tankers was released and burned in a controlled manner to prevent more dangerous explosion. So, to prevent an explosion, they burned it.
Yes. Now, I'm not an expert in that, particular, but I know, when it comes to fire prevention, sometimes, control burns or
Necessary.
fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
You do a controlled burn to burn out the fuel
Yeah.
of a fire that's expanding. So I don't know. And in some situations, oil fields get detonated in order to just go ahead and take away the oxygen.
Yeah, snuff out the fires.
Snuff out the fires. I don't know if that was the actual purpose of that control burn. But if you ever had a chemistry class, the thing is that the fire converts these chemicals, and as they interact with the atmosphere or the water in the oxygen, it turns into something else. And it had turned into apparently hydrochloric acid. And it started freaking raining acid on that city, that town. And a bunch of those other chemicals were dispersed, and it landed on the water and all over the water table. And so then the emergency evacuation orders were lifted, but residents were saying that the people that were telling them that it's okay to move back in were in hazmat suits. So you see what I'm saying? Like a dude in a full Mop 5 chem suit's telling you.
Fills me with confidence.
Yeah, go ahead. It's safe. Well, take it off, fucker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you first.
People are reporting their chickens are dead. All small game animals like that.
It reminds me of being a private on a tank.
Right. Yeah.
So the NBC. Yeah.
Yeah. To check the actual.
Yeah. You're the canary.
You're the canary.
Yeah.
You're the canary. So, for those of you guys that don't understand the analogy of the canary, so back in World War, what was it in the mines? Is it the mines?
It's just the mines.
Yeah, it's in the mines. So in the mining industry in the
1800s,
when miners were working deep into the earth, they would have canaries. Because they're the first line of defense, the first thing to die.
Yeah, canaries are very, very sensitive.
They're very sensitive to the environment, so they're the first thing to die when they were exposed to either whatever chemical or gas that humans wouldn't be able to survive for very long. So it was kind of like their warning sign that there was something there, because electronics didn't exist back then. Right. So it wasn't anything breathing the air and detecting what's going on.
Yeah. Now we have chemical detectors.
Right. Well, in the military, it became kind of like the thing. So in chemical warfare, a standard operating procedure, which I don't know if it still stands to this day, may be in worst case scenario. Once a unit comes under chemical attack, after a determined period of time where that chemical is supposed to have subsided, the lowest ranking private becomes the canary. So he gets disarmed and he is forced to remove his mask. And if he survives, then the unit's safe to take their mask and continue operations. But I digress. That's what that means. So
somebody told me that when I was a brand new private, and I called bullshit. That's like, no,
it's real.
That's legit.
It's real. Yeah. So even though once you get in the Army, you figure out that it's not only the lowest ranking private.
Whoever's the most useless.
It's the most useless guy in your fucking team. That's the guy. That's the canary.
It's true.
If you know me and you know what unit I served in, we know who the fucking canary was. And he's still alive. But neither here or there. So that the biggest complaint is that from a lot of people, it's not just that they were allowed back into residences by men clad in freaking hazmat suits, which clearly indicates that it's not safe. It's not safe for them. How is it safe for them to go back in their homes? Another thing is that it didn't receive the media coverage that it duly deserved. It was
a major chemical spill in a populated area.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, a little bit of what I've seen, is that reporters were being arrested, at least harassed, and removed from the area. It's like, I don't know if the local law enforcement was like, you're being removed for your own safety, or you're being removed because you're shooting video and I don't want you to shoot video. I don't know what the hell was going on. But yeah, it's a major chemical spill in a populated area. It'd be the same thing as an oil tanker getting punctured off the coast of Oregon or something. yeah, the state's not to blame, but it's a major concern. It's going to affect a lot of people. And that's the other thing about what's his name? Yeah,
Buttigieg.
Trying to downplay this. It's like, this is insane. And I just read an article. Apparently FEMA has told Ohio they don't qualify for disaster relief.
Oh, they got to be Democrat.
Isn't Ohio Democrat?
I don't think so.
Don't they vote?
I know Palestine, Ohio was about 70% Republican.
That'd be a hot button issue right there.
It is a hot button issue. It's just not getting the attention that it's due.
What's this? Okay. So this is...
Like people are, now don't get me wrong, people are making that inference that it's political.
Mm-hmm. I
want to look beyond that. That I'd like to think that that's not the case. That it's a...
I hope not.
I mean, I hope not. I want to believe that that's not the case. That it's
the article I found is from timcast.com. FEMA told Ohio that it does not qualify for disaster assistance after 50 train cars derailed, caught fire, and necessitated controlled chemical burn. Now I'm skimming this article. I haven't read the whole thing.
It's still fishy. There's no more fish there though, so that whole place is fishy. All the fish are dead.
Yeah, apparently it wiped out a good chunk of that river.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a big part of the news. There's 30,000 fish washed up dead, something like that.
The estimates are enormous, but not only that, it's seeped into the ground to the point where you can't see it on the water surface. But if you actually put something in the ground and actually stir it up, you see the oil, the rainbow, rainbowing of the water. So, yeah, granted, that could be petroleum. I don't know what it is. I'm not a chemist. But you definitely know you can't drink that water. That's for sure. But, another thing, dude. So China said they were going to punish us for knocking down their balloon.
Sweet. How?
Yeah. I don't know.
Are they going to put sanctions on us?
They're going to take that one aircraft carrier and sail it over. I don't know. Hey, China, look, if you get to watch this, anybody that's in that government, suck a dick. It's just fucking balloon. What are you, a fucking child? What are you? You pop a balloon. What are you, 7?
It wasn't even a red balloon. Relax.
It's like, I'm a balloon. We will punish America for the balloon. Get fucked, bro. I mean, come on, man.
For real.
It's crazy, man. You ought to be. You're better than that. You're better than that. Our astronauts play together. You should be better than that. So.
Oh, wait, do they have 2 aircraft carriers now?
Unless they converted a freaking cruise liner.
They were building one of their own.
They were building one of their own.
The one they had was a Russian. It was an old Soviet aircraft carrier. And that was the only one they had.
Yeah, it's like diesel powered.
Something like that. Well, I think America is the only one that has nuclear powered aircraft carriers. Everybody else uses diesels.
It's America. Fuck yeah.
The French tried it and failed.
Yeah, the reactor trying to run away from the ship.
It was the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier.
Oh, that's why they probably named it wrong.
During World War II.
I know who he is.
But yeah,
I've been in his airport many times.
Yeah, Charles de Gaulle.
The staff in the airport is fantastic, by the way.
They installed the reactor wrong somehow, and it had a perpetual leak.
Yeah, they put it in reverse. That's what it was.
They couldn't manage. The entire ship is radioactive.
Yeah, I didn't know the French flag was tricolor to the other day. I thought it was just white.
Going with the jokes.
That's an old British joke there.
Yeah.
Freaking. But
yeah, they do have a second one.
Oh, they have one. Yeah.
The Fujian. I don't know. Not Chinese. Don't know how to pronounce that shit.
That's all right. I mean, you get A for effort, I guess.
I guess.
They're not going to sell it anywhere near us, though.
That's how you get some.
I dare them to sell that damn thing like as close to the U.S. as they did that damn balloon. Well, take it back. It'll probably dock in New York, or Baltimore before freaking Soggy Joe does anything about it.
I'm pretty sure they'll be ticker tape welcomed if,
AOC will be out there wearing her white suit. freaking, idiot. But yeah, so China threatened us over that. You know, they were like, oh, we're gonna punish you, blah blah blah. I'm like, man, whatever, dude. Just shut up. Oh man, what was the other thing that I saw, man? So freaking TikTok again, dude.
Why are you still on TikTok?
I am not on TikTok. I get news from TikTok though, like of things that relate to TikTok.
No, yeah, okay. I get
not,
like blurs from like YouTube and Facebook that are from TikTok. But.
Nope. I have none of my devices are connected on TikTok. Not a stitch of this podcast will ever go on TikTok. There's no need for it. For one, our audience ain't on. It shouldn't be on TikTok. You know, if hopefully not. If you're on TikTok right now, you should just get rid of that damn app. It's not worth it. Unless you're making money off of it, dude. If you're making money, I won't hate on you. You know, make your dollars. Eggs are expensive, so but yeah. So a new trend kind of started of people documenting running away from the cops.
On foot and
vehicles in Texas.
It's not a good idea.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, it's a terrible idea. So this guy from Texas ran from the cops like 3 times and has been posting it on social media, how he ran from the police on a vehicle, then ran from them on foot, and then blah, blah, blah. Well, DPS saw it.
And used it as evidence to charge him.
Yeah, it's evidentiary, bro.
Yeah, it's evidence.
So, I mean, he's from Katy, Texas, and when they catch him,
down near Houston.
Yeah, when they catch him, hopefully he'll never see the light of day, or at least not for a while. You know, it's kind of excessive.
It's a lesser,
but
felony
it's a lesser felony charge. But you should definitely just know out there if you're
in Texas,
don't
run from the cops.
Don't run from the damn cops, man.
Especially if you don't know that agency's pursuit policy. If you don't know the pursuit policy, don't do it.
Well, it don't matter because if you leave that jurisdiction,
the state troopers are going to be on your ass.
It don't say. Yeah,
they don't stop at the borders.
There's a bunch of places you run from that place, and if the word got out, there'll be people meeting you at the line of that jurisdiction to scoop you up. So, you know, just don't run
fast those people get dressed.
Yeah. Bro, it's insane. It's insane.
Called them at 2:30 in the morning. They were out of their house in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, they
get dressed fast.
They're very efficient, man. So, shout out to our DPS guys, man.
Yeah.
They're top notch, man. I've worked with a couple that they hadn't been like the best, but even within that, they've been really good. So you know what I mean, like. So I've worked with some pretty stellar DPS dudes through the years, man, and guys are freaking wealth of knowledge and just super personable, approachable as all hell. So don't run from the cops, man. Just if you think you got something in your car, man, just tell them what you did. Just go ahead and tell them what you did, man.
The thing is, though, that just made it profitable to do that. Because I mean,
yeah.
You found out about it not even going on TikTok, right?
I'm not even on TikTok.
It had gotten so big that people are sharing it on other platforms. Mm-hmm. So that's making money. That's making serious money now. So now according to just that one example, at least in that person's case, it is profitable to run from the police.
And we've experienced it where if you're a new driver, if you're a young person, just got your wheels, just got your driver's license and whatever, and you think this is the bee's knees, this is what's happening, you know, this is the cool thing. Yeah, it's cool in a video game, but when you do it in real life, there's some real consequences.
You're gonna get yourself killed, you're gonna get somebody else killed.
So the thing is that 9 times out of 10
to vehicular manslaughter.
So looking beyond the legality, the thing is that 9 times out of 10, the fact that you're involved as the offender vehicle in a pursuit increases your stress behind the wheel, which also diminishes your ability to drive that vehicle efficiently at high speeds. You can very quickly, exceed the capabilities of your vehicle and exceed the capabilities of your own knowledge behind the wheel, and end up being a weapon towards the regular public. So, I mean, you got to know that at some point, if your vehicle's not prepared for that kind of stress, and you are not prepared for that kind of stress, that's not something that you should undertake even in a safe situation, like even in a closed track. So to do it out in public where traffic won't see you, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. So in some cases, lethal force could be authorized against you. So you're not only risking your life, but you're risking the life of those around you, and you're risking the livelihood of those police officers that are chasing you. There's a lot of things that are happening. So don't do it. Don't do it. If you're a young, impersonable person, I mean, not that you would know that you're impersonable, but if you're a young person that gets around to watch this podcast or whatever, just don't risk that kind of nonsense, man. It ain't worth the trouble. If you're here in Texas, take your butt to Little River Academy and get your speed therapy down that way. Go to the track, go do burnout somewhere else. Try to run from the cops, man. It's insane, man. But I saw that on TikTok, and I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, what the hell? This guy talking openly about it as the cops are looking for him, like it ain't no biggie. So the thing with TikTok is that all of your content gets moderated and gets looked at some point by employees of the company who are also party members of the Communist Party. If they're gonna have some kind of good social credit score, which they do have a social credit score in China, that's how people get around. They're gonna be viewed by the government. So
on that,
a
lot of people don't want to believe that.
They don't want to believe that. But check this out.
Here's the thing. Like, a lot of people in the United States don't want to believe that because you can't understand that. And as Americans, I can't understand. I don't understand what a social credit score means.
Okay.
Now, I know what it is.
Right.
I've researched into it. I understand the concept behind it, but I can't understand how they're actually implementing it and using it. I know why they use it. They prevent people's travel by using that. They prevent people from getting loans. They prevent people from using banks and stuff like that. The thing is, most Americans can't comprehend that, and I get that because I could barely comprehend it. I've never seen anything like that, but it really is a real thing that the Chinese do to their people as part of a social credit score. If you don't have a high enough social credit score, you can't get a loan. You can't buy a house. You can't have a car. You can't travel from one province to another. If you already have a good paying job, you'll lose it if your credit score goes down. But there is something you can watch if you want an entertainment thing that kind of explains it a lot better than I ever could, and it's one of the episodes of Black Mirror. You ever seen that show on Netflix?
I think you put me onto it, but I never really got around to see it.
Well, Black Mirror does a lot of they're different episodes. They talk about a lot of social issues.
Social credit score in China started about 2007.
Really?
So a big example is that Chinese MMA fighter that was taking on these sifus, these kung fu fighters,
traditional
traditional martial arts fighters, and just showing them that
it's ineffective.
That kung fu is, you gotta get your ass kicked, and he was blooding people up, and they were not. He had a social media page and where he would film these fights, and if you don't know that much about China, kung fu is damn near sacred to that culture. It's one of their mainstays. As a matter of fact, it's like the national hand-to-hand combat thing. Yeah. They teach it at schools. They teach it just about everywhere. But so it was a direct affront to Chinese culture, and as a consequence to that, he was told to stop it and whatever. So his social credit score started going down as his appearances kept going, and it got to the point where he couldn't travel on any bus or catch a ride anywhere. He couldn't buy a car. He couldn't travel on airplanes. He couldn't travel anywhere because social credit score was so low because it was considered him bad talking the state. So if you don't think that could be implemented in other places, you already have it in the States.
I'll say, yeah.
So
anywhere that any of these social media things exist, applicably implemented.
So you already have it in the States in some. So you have your three major reporting credit systems, and the variations of their scores there within. So your FICA 2s, your FICA 1 through however what is it, FICA 1 through 8 or whatever. So I mean,
they're all used for different things.
All of those scores are rated differently, and they describe different aspects or different risks to you taking certain assets in credit.
Short-term loans,
long-term loans,
rotating loans,
cars. So, like for instance, I may qualify for a car, but I may not qualify for a house.
Right.
I may qualify for a $300 payday loan, but I may not qualify for a cell phone. Right. It's just those things are affected by your credit score. Now, the big difference is that here there is some redeeming capability to it, where if you maintain good paying, you stay in good standing with most of your accounts and whatever, and pay off certain things. There is a coming back for your credit score. But in China, it's an uphill battle to come back from that. And in most cases, it could be a death sentence. So there's another thing that came out. The 5 dudes, they were indicted.
Oh, the Memphis
thing.
Yeah, Tyree Nichols.
Yeah, they all pleaded not guilty.
Yeah.
So
I think I was reading something. Their next court date for a hearing is like in May.
Yeah. Like how dare they?
We're keeping tabs on that, so any kind of updates, we'll put it out there.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna keep a watchful eye on that case, and as it develops, just trying to give some updates on it. But
here was the thing I was going to talk about. Now that you said something, it was something you didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
The research that apparently has been going on into the gain of function for avian flu. Mm-hmm. You heard anything about that? So
I know some, but I don't know if it's what you're about to say.
Recently, there has been a huge scare in, pretty much everywhere. In the United States, there have been a culling of chickens. I don't know to what scale, but it was large enough to affect the egg prices. They're coming out now. It's like that's why the price of eggs jumped up. It's because the population of chickens has been culled to prevent avian bird flu spread in the United States. And now since that came out, another thing came out that gain of function research was conducted on avian bird flu, and they transferred the flu from birds to ferrets. So it's a mammalian jump. Ferrets have similar lung structure.
Mammalian jump, yeah.
Mammalian jump. So they have a similar lung structure to humans.
Of course. Thanks, Fauci, you piece of shit.
Whoever did it, I don't know what lab did
I have nobody to blame, but I'll blame him.
Right.
I mean, him and his freaking buddy Obama there, through shell companies and all kinds of other freaking stupid stuff, funded the gain of function research in freaking China that eventually led to the Wuhan freaking lake and COVID and the deaths of freaking thousands of people. That guy should be freaking put through a wood chipper, and that's no kidding. After due process, of course, because I just don't stand for just crazy execution of people without figuring it out, all the facts. And I may not have all the facts myself, but I'm gonna tell you right now, people need to be held accountable. You need to be brought to held to be held to exactly, and that's the problem.
I mean, and that's what I was about to get in a tirade about. It's even saying have all the facts. Nobody has all the facts. Nobody ever can have all the facts. Because they're hiding this information, they're destroying this information, they're keeping it out of the public circuits. We can never digest it. We can never circulate it. We can never have any kind of influence over it because we'll never have it because they're hiding it. And they're being paid to hide it, or they're paying somebody else to hide it, and bringing somebody to justice like Fauci or, God forbid, Obama about any of the crimes, or Bush for their crimes, or Clinton for any of his crimes.
Yeah.
Any of these fucking politicians for any of their crimes, no matter what the hell they did, they'll never be brought to justice, ever.
Yeah, but
it's been proven over and over and over again.
Throughout our history and through the history
of many others. You can't even investigate it.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't understand. And even throughout this crazy stuff with the derailment, somebody somewhere found how to link this to freaking Trump. you kidding me?
Every time.
Are you kidding me? The balloons, Trump. The guy's not president, man. Let that crap go. That dude is not president.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, and I'll say it here because I know it's a safe assumption, and I promise to be unbiased when it comes to this stuff because I don't care about red or blue. Best candidate should be the person that my vote goes for. The best person.
I think both are shit.
And right now, both of them, this is garbage. There's a couple people coming up that may have some promise, but that's neither here or there, and I won't get into that because I'm not trying to influence the way you vote. But these people spent all them freaking years going after Trump. Years and years and years of going after Trump. All you got to do is look at Trump when he was a developer in New York City. Why on God's green earth have you not gone after one of one of the biggest developers in New York City during the time where New York City, you couldn't freaking mix a bag of concrete without talking to a mob?
They own all the unions. All of them.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. You could not.
To the best of my knowledge, they still do.
You could not mix a bag of concrete without talking to mafia. So you want to dig into some crazy shit about Trump? Go dig into that because clearly none of that other stuff is yielding anything of any kind of import or any kind of consequence because it just hasn't happened. You're digging when you dig into stuff that doesn't exist.
I got a theory.
Oh, let's see.
Same thing you've already said.
Right.
Well, I mean, both parties are shit.
Right.
But Democrats have more influence over the media than anybody else.
Correct.
What side did mafias vote? Historically.
Democrat.
Yeah. They vote for Democrats.
Democrats. Why is that, James?
Why is that?
Why is that? Yeah, please tell our viewers, why is that?
There's theories.
To the best of your ability.
There's
I
no history,
wonder,
there's no facts.
maybe is it because one is more lax on crime than the other?
Maybe.
Is it possible? I mean, speculatively.
So, I mean, the Italian mob, I'd say before the 1960s, they were conservatives. I mean, they're Italians. They're Catholic Italians.
Right.
Who have very conservative values. They
Correct.
value family, close-knit families. They use that in their business. That's how they were successful. They kept everything within the families. Very successful. But then they voted Democrat in the 1960s. It's a more liberal thing. If you want to go to the theories, and it's been put in movies and stuff. I mean, Castro kicked out the mafia from Havana. And they had casinos, they had businesses down there, they had a whole racket down there. It was great. Castro kicked them out. They wanted back in. They elected Kennedy. Try to get them back in. Kennedy tried to go into the Bay of Pigs.
Right.
And then Kennedy got executed. Assassinated.
Right.
Whatever. You can go into theories about that too.
Oh, yeah, I can go on for days. But
I mean, that's one theory on why mafias vote Democrat, because Democrats are tied into the mob most of the time. And if you look at a lot of the Democrats that have been elected to office in New York and in New Jersey, you can make arguments that they do have mob ties. They have had mob ties. They have family in the mob, or they have serious connections in the mob. But
that's the thing,
that's why it's never going to be reported on.
Well, exactly. But that's the thing. That's why this system, and the way it's currently being operated, lends itself for corruption at the highest levels. It's now I don't have a whole lot of. If we have somebody that's of good report, a person of good ethics, morals, good social standing with the community and whatnot, and he wants to run for any kind of office, and he doesn't have the funds to fund a campaign, he's gonna go underfoot of whoever has the biggest advertisement capital. So you could be the most morally straight person, ethically correct, with very little bones in his closet, and you just won't be able to keep up in a campaign, especially at the presidential level.
Yeah, if you can't get your face, your voice, and your message out there.
So the best thing is that for some of these guys that are of that particular ilk, they'll create grassroots movements, and those grassroots movements could take decades. to enact and to catch fervor. A lot of the times, some of these big political parties, they have people out there doing kind of like Chick-fil-A does market study, and some of these other people have market study. They're out there launching intel and gathering intel on some of these grassroots movements. And a lot of them are extinguished before they even begin, before they even catch good ground. They get good traction. People criticize Ted Cruz, and they criticize him and rightfully so. I mean, that dude went to Cancun where we're freezing our butts off, and that's fine. I don't blame him. I could go to Cancun too, but instead I had to work because I was a cop, and we had to freaking sleep in a shelter, just to kind of stay warm because our house was a freaking igloo. So, that guy wanted a bill for term limits. And how controversial that was. None of these freaking old bags. When somebody wants to pass a bill that would effectively end their political run at that level of government, you got to look at it like this dude is built different. You know what I mean? Somebody that would advocate for his own firing, basically, because that's what it would amount to. You gotta look at it like maybe he's onto something. It's just term limits. Also, the bills that are being submitted. Some of these bills are enormous.
Yeah.
There is a level of impossibility.
Yeah. That's done on purpose.
Of course, it's done on purpose. I believe that a lot of that nonsense needs to be eliminated. But good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. But what I'm saying is there is no real hope for the whole thing to run even level because of these things, and that'll never change.
Well,
so
it'll never change because it might
for the worst. Yeah,
it'll change for the worst before it gets better.
Of course, but
that's the thing. Like, my biggest gripe about government, about the way it's done right now. You get people elected into office, and they sound good, and they sound like they're going to get in there and try to get things done. I mean, what can you expect nowadays? But I mean, why are we trying to get things done? Why aren't there term limits for Congress? Why not? I mean, you shouldn't be serving not only an entire career, but the rest of your life in this position. I mean, some of these people in Congress have been there for 40 or 50 years. Are you kidding me? Well, you have a term limit for the President of the United States, and even that didn't exist until FDR croaked after 3 terms. Into his 4th term. Was it 4th term? It doesn't matter. But yeah, that's why they made it an actual term limit. Before that, it was just a traditional thing that you only did 2 terms. It wasn't actually spelled out.
It's a gentleman rule.
Yeah, it was a gentleman's rule set up by George Washington. He only did 2 terms and he gave it up. Because there were advocates that say a president should be a lifetime position. He didn't agree. So he gave it up after 2 terms. And then people traditionally kept to that until FDR during World War II. And he went into a 3rd term and whatever. That's when they made term limits for the President of the United States and actually codified that there were term limits for President of the United States. They should have done it for Congress too. And why not? And that's the thing I think about. I think Congress has a lot more money spinning around Capitol Hill than the presidency does. I think you can make a lot more money.
Yeah. I mean, well, these are the people. These are the people that introduce bills for special interest groups,
right.
And they're the ones that keep the military-industrial complex alive. They're the ones that. Now, don't get me wrong. Nothing against the military-industrial complex. They kept me afloat for quite a few years of my contracting years. So I don't hate on them, but I do. Looking at it now in hindsight, the war machine is it's something unreal. It causes us to continuously be looking for some kind of adversary where there isn't any, and making adversaries out of people out of countries that are normally not a threat. So when you're talking about helping your friend Bill on this new rocket or whatever the hell is going on, but then you attach, money for freaking babies and puppies, then name the bill after the babies and the puppies, and you could be against the rockets, but now you're going to be against the babies and the puppies too, So these bills are incredibly fat, and and not to mention,
anybody out there wants to look up what we're talking about, they are referred to as omnibus bills.
The omnibus bills. They're impossible to
General term
read.
for fattened bills.
They're impossible to read in the timeline that they're given.
4,000 pages.
They're impossible to read. I mean, you would have to not take care of your constituents for several months to go through one of those things in its entirety, because what's happened now is that congressmen and other representatives and people, they will have to hire staffers,
and they do,
to hire staffers to read through this stuff. But then what happens there is that you lose the interpretation of the overall scope of the bill, because you have a portion of it, I have a portion of it, this guy has a portion of it, but we're not seeing the totality of the situation as a whole, because maybe your bill helps your bill, and they link each other, because maybe the proceeds from whatever gets approved on your side are going to get squeezed out, and percentage is going to go to something else. It's insane. I think those omnibus bills should go away unless they pertain to the same topic. This is something that at the very least, that's something that's achievable. You may not achieve.
Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more
achievable.
It's
reasonable.
I think that's more reasonable.
It's reasonable, absolutely.
I think that's more achievable. I think that's more achievable than term limits and the other stuff.
I don't think any of it's achievable.
Yeah, well,
it's all reasonable. It makes sense. Yeah. But I don't think any of it's achievable.
Yeah, it's just
the system that's in place. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So the thing
ridiculous.
is that in my reason for, I have plenty of reason to be biased, plenty. I choose not, because I know that the government machine wants to keep us separate. The machine itself wants to keep us infighting and distracted, fighting each other over race, gender, sex, whatever you want to call it, your pronouns, your color, your rights as a human being, your rights as a particular race, whatever month you get out of the year that's yours, the statues that surround your community, history, reparations. I mean, you name it. They want the American populace confused, divided, and infighting to an extent. Because while that's going on, this other hand is doing some other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's always been it's been that way since, I mean, it's typical. It's been that way since the Roman times. It's been that way. You wanna do something grand, you throw some games out there. You guys saw it. If you guys throw the Roman games in the Colosseum and enact the games, 80 some odd days of games, blah blah blah. That'll give you the political clout to conduct certain things and do certain operations, do certain actions, governmental operations, governmental actions. I mean, we live in a weird time, but it's weird to us because we haven't lived before. So, but it's been going on since the world's been turning, as the song goes. It's always, we didn't start the fire. You know what I mean?
How to control the population.
but it's
That's what I mentioned at the beginning of this. Like Joseph Goebbels is like
yeah. And
Goebbels wrote the book on this shit.
The one thing that keeps us
how to control the population through the media.
Well, of course,
he wrote the book on it.
Well, of course. Well, a lot of the people that were very privy to those writings and could enact those writings, they lived successful and long, meaningful lives. Mm-hmm. Operation Paperclip, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Everybody cared about the Nazi occupation of the Eastern world and Europe and what they were doing to the Jews, unless you were really good at math, chemistry, politics, rocketry, some of these other things. And then at the end of the war, it was like the NBA draft. The countries that were the victors got to draft their favorite scientists or whoever their favorite they followed. That's how some of these crazy advancements in technology got to the U.S. and some of these other crazy advantages in technology and science got to Russia and China, some of these other places. Yep. Well, because these Nazis, they were experimenting on human beings for the most part using slave labor, that didn't matter because their knowledge was way more valuable and their research was way more valuable, and the prospects of future research and development was way more profitable and way more valuable than the lives that were lost as a consequence of World War II. So it's beware of what people care about. It's what a good message I draw from that. It's just beware what people care about, because it's the Holocaust is highly thought as one of the biggest mass extinction, genocide in human history. What's being utilized as tactics in the Ukraine, from the Russians, as far as military tactics when it comes to advancing territory and moving maneuver forces. It changed my perception a little bit about what we were doing. Remember when I asked a while ago in conversation, like, what are we doing? I saw this, and so when you're watching reports like this, sometimes many pictures could be deceiving. Especially when you're looking at still photography, it could be for different eras. It could be from different conflicts. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily match up with the particular conflict that the person's actually talking about. Real Life Lore in YouTube has a great channel. They have a lot of historical pieces in there. What Putin doesn't want you to see happening in Ukraine is the title of the video. I'll put a link on this so you can look at it, see exactly what I'm talking about. I've researched the pictures, the photography that he actually used, and verified it in preparation for this podcast. Just kind of just in case it was a topic that I needed to use or something that I could use to talk to you guys about. But I've researched it. Yeah, it's real. It's legit. Those are the cities as they look like today. From aerial photography, and it's a disaster. I mean, saturation artillery. A campaign like that hasn't been seen since World War II, bro.
Right.
Like, it's that bad. If I wasn't so fat, I'm telling you, let's go. Like, it made me that angry, and I wasn't even drinking. I was furious. Flat out furious, because indiscriminate artillery like that for saturation to eradicate an enemy combatant is it's counterproductive, for one, because you waste ammunition, untold amounts of ammunition for no particular effect. Because
are they going with a scorched earth policy? That's what that sounds like.
They're going with a scorched earth policy. So what they're doing is displacing civilian populations and putting stress in the civilian populace to create a collapse within their military. Because they can't do it conventionally, because their military sucks. Their vanguard units are being comprised of the Wagner Group, and the Wagner Group are a bunch of mercenaries who used to 90%, I don't know how many percentage of their soldiers were ex-inmates. So Wagner Group hired these guys from jail, and they put these guys in the front lines, and they've been doing untold atrocities, of course, because you put criminals in the battlefield to do criminal stuff. If you don't think war crimes are not going to happen, you're fucking mistaken. So Wagner Group, dressed as soldiers, representing Russia, are stomping through some of these areas in Ukraine and doing insane stuff. But they're also dying by the bushel, So the Ukrainian fighters have proven to be extremely competent, and we have equipped them very well. And apparently they're putting that stuff to good use. But the indiscriminate artillery of some of these areas it's a sight to behold. I couldn't believe it. Usually you want to take, when you strike and hold, model to a 504th, when you strike hold, you want to have some kind of tactical value to that area you're holding. Right. So especially if you want to annex it back into your country, you want the people that used to live there to still live there. Better to control, to keep them in the same spot, to go back to their homes, they stay in their homes, they don't have to move anywhere. But they're plowing through. And in a lot of cases, they're already bulldozing some of these destroyed buildings that were of import. Like, say, if they hit a hospital with artillery, they mask it by getting rid of the building altogether. So if you go in our aerial photography, you'll all just see is dirt and bulldozers. In some instances, they've been using scaffolding and barriers from the ground, so you can't see what the building was or what it looks like now from the ground, but you can see it from the sky. So it's insane. Yeah. It's insane. Ukrainian soldiers are reporting from the battlefield. We have Americans down there. Some of these crazy eats that are like, and I get it. I mean, they want to help out and whatever best they can. Good luck to them. God bless them. They're reporting that the Russians are just throwing bodies, just like they did in Stalingrad, just like they did in some of these other campaigns. They're just throwing bodies at the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians just mowing them down. And in some parts, there's just piles of them, just mountains of dead Russian soldiers.
That's ridiculous.
Traditionally, they don't even get warmed up until they hit a casualty ratio of about 250K.
Right.
So, they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, Russians are perfectly capable of throwing 1 million men away and surviving.
There's an alternate refugee crisis generating out of Russia as well.
I've heard about that.
Fighting age males are fleeing there. I mean, as best they can.
Because they're being drafted.
Because they're being drafted. The draft has been enacted, and they are drafting people into this conflict. This ain't going away. So it was revealed already I think it was yesterday or the day before, that in fact the U.S. apparently did destroy the Nord Stream pipeline. But we knew that. I mean, for one, Biden said that he would destroy the Nord Stream. Well, he didn't say it in those specific words, but he did say he would put an end to Nord Stream if they invaded. In one of those Freudian slips that he's so famous.
I don't remember what context he was saying, but I do remember him saying that he would destroy Nord Stream. I don't know if it had anything to do with Ukraine at the time or something else.
It did. I seen the video. So look it up. Do your research on this kind of stuff. Feel free to call me out on some bullshit. Like if you did some research, if you saw my video and you looked in something, we love educational stuff. So if you see something that could be modified or something, well, it's no issues. We don't get butthurt over that. So if you see something that's not accurate or something that could be expanded a little bit better or whatever, feel free to go ahead and put it on the comments below. We'll read them. And take a look at them.
We'll always have our comments on.
Yeah, we'll always have our comments on.
We don't reply to everything, but...
Yeah, we have our comments on our videos for a reason. We want you guys to interact with us. I'll attach our email to the podcast email to our to this podcast, to the ending credits there. If you guys here soon, as we get better equipment and whatnot, we'll start... We got a couple guests lined up. We'll try to get better equipment so we can actually so we can kind of get things a little bit more professionally going. So we can actually get everybody in the same sheet of music and get everybody in the frame there. But yeah, feel free to comment, and if we gotta retract something or if something you didn't like, or if there's a future topic you want us to expand on, by all means, email us. Put in the comments. Check us out on Facebook. I'll put links to all that. We're on Rumble as well. So I'll put links to all of that on the rolling credits, and keep you guys informed on the latest and the greatest, and just kind of try to inspire, hopefully, more people to do their own research. But yeah, that's about all we got for this week. Hope you enjoy it, and see you guys next week. All right. Yeah, cheers.